Hello, hello, welcome to another instalment of our FIFA 23 Real Tactics series. My name is Ash, or Brommer18, whichever you prefer, and this is the home of career mode tactics for FIFA here on YouTube. No one does it better on YouTube or the internet, for that matter, than us. And by us, I mean both myself and you, the viewers, who are absolutely instrumental as part of this series. Today, we are going to look at Mikel Arteta's Arsenal tactics, because absolutely no one has requested it at all over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, that's sarcasm, obviously, because everyone has requested it over the last 2 weeks. You guys have been absolutely relentless. It is a 4-3-3 system. We've covered him in the past over the last FIFA and recent iterations of FIFA really, and it's generally been a 4-2-3-1. However, this time the tactic is really taking shape. His system, his philosophy are really kind of bedding in. You can see that central midfielder, which is Xhaka in this case, really pushing up the field and supporting those attacking phases a whole lot more, which is why now we have more of this 4-3-3 system. I'll show you both the formation, the position changes, tactical instructions and player instructions as well. But before we do get into that, let me quickly remind you that this video is brought to you by my Patreon. On there you can get access to a whole range of fantastic perks, including exclusive tactics videos that won't be shown here on the channel, my FIFA 23 custom tactics package. If you want a deeper ranking of this tactic, a deeper dive, you can see it. You can have suitable teams to play as, pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses of the tactic, as well as our overall ranking amongst all the tactics that we do cover on the channel. There's a whole range of other perks as well that you can really get stuck into. A great way to support the channel if you can afford it. If not, don't worry, you'll still get lots of great content to access here on the channel. So with that being said, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload, and let's get into it. So first things first, I've spoken about the formation already, how it is a 4-3-3 now. There are just a couple of position changes. You're going to want to go with the general 4-3-3 holding system, but there are a couple of things you want to do. One is that you want to change Martin Odegaard from central midfield to cam. And what that's going to do is that's naturally going to push him further up the field and get him into those advanced areas, those advanced pockets of space a little bit more. That's how we're trying to recreate his system and his kind of role within the system as best as possible. With Granit Xhaka, make sure that he's central midfielder rather than left central midfielder. That's very important as well. I know some people will kind of make that assumption. The fullbacks, as opposed to what we've done in many other videos, are this time at base right and left back as opposed to wing backs, so keep that as it is. And other than that, we can now move on to the tactics. So with the tactics, it's probably important to stress at this point that with regards to this tactic and Pep Guardiola's Man City tactic that we've covered recently, they're very similar. There's a lot of similarities there, and as I kind of studied Arsenal a lot more, you're really seeing a lot of the same principles from Guardiola come over. Now there are some differences that we'll speak about very shortly, but there are a lot of similarities, and it's quite uncanny really. So first things first, defensive style, press after possession loss to give you that counter-attacking approach. Then with the width, it's on 36, a little bit wider. I noticed the gaps were wider in those kind of horizontal areas. Part of the reason why they do this is because they want to get out to the crosses a little bit more. They appreciate that the centre-backs, in this case, which would be got Saliba and Gabriel, whilst decent centre-backs for sure, they're not physically imposing in terms of their height and their strength, etc. They're more kind of ball-playing, mobile centre-backs. And so as a result, if you do have a kind of more taller physical striker who you're going to cross balls into the box to, you bet against them a little bit. So as a result, they want to try and get out to the crosses a little bit more, but you don't want to make it too wide because ultimately it's going to be way too open. The depth is on 90, a very high defensive line, and this is extremely important. I noticed in studying them, their line is ridiculously high. It's one of the highest that I've seen from any teams studying across my many years of doing YouTube tactics, to be fair. And it's part of the reason why, even though they've been so good this season, you saw them come undone against Manchester United. All of the goals, again, exploiting that high line. They're not kind of stopping the pass before it happens, which is what they need to do to support that high line, and they were just getting kind of done on the counter with those kind of runs in behind of Rashford, Anthony, etc. So it is a very, very high block. Now you can drop this down a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how they do change this if they come against the likes of Manchester City, Liverpool, etc. But for now, it's very, very high. The build-up play on offensively is slow build-up, meaning that players are going to drop off, particularly on goalkeeper restarts and show for the ball. And then the chance creation is on possession, as players are going to look to show for the ball. Again, as I say, drop off, come a bit shorter, and then they can create those kind of shorter, quicker interchanges. The width is on 28, supporting that kind of narrow central possession emphasis. What we will do though is that we'll talk about the instructions very shortly of the wingers who are going to help to stretch the play and create that width if and when they need to. Moving on to the players in the box, this one is on 7. It's roughly, obviously, the 3 front men, but often Xhaka will also get into the box as well in crossing situations, but not religiously. It's only fairly often. So as a result, I kind of stuck this on 7. Now we will obviously change his instructions as well, to bear that in mind. But if you do move it up to 8, and he's not the one who is in the box, then you're going to find other players get into the box, and that's not what you want, which is why we keep this on 7, and it's going to be roughly between 3 to 4, be a little bit more conservative. Finally, with set pieces, the corners are on 4, but the free kicks are on 3. So let's come on to the player instructions then. Starting off with Aaron Ramsdale in goal. What is very, very commonplace in these tactics videos is that the goalkeeper will be on comes to crosses and sweeper keeper. Naturally, you're going to want to support that high defensive line that you're playing, that very high block. And sweeper keeper doesn't work very well on FIFA, I'll be honest, but we set it to that end nevertheless. And comes to crosses, as we've spoken about in many of these videos, you want him to support those crossing situations, relieve a bit of pressure off yourself. Goalkeepers have a bit of an invisible wall around them in games, so as a result, he can kind of relieve the pressure off you in those situations. The 2 centre-backs are absolutely fine, you don't need to change anything there. And then with the 2 full-backs, there are some slightly differing instructions. With Ben White as the right-back, he is an inverted full-back, but as opposed to, say, Guardiola's Man City system, which we spoke about in the last game, he does actually venture a little bit further forward. So whilst you want his run type to be on inverted, his attacking runs this time are unbalanced as opposed to stay back while attacking. And generally, he is just going to creep forward sometimes in some attacking moves and support those attacking phases a little bit more. I noticed he was getting very, very high, despite the fact that naturally he's a centre-back. With Zinchenko, slightly different. He's still on inverted as well. He's going to come inside, act as that additional central midfielder. Again, very, very similar to the tactics that we covered in the previous video. But his attacking runs this time are on join the attack. He's constantly providing another option in those attacking phases, and so as a result his attacking runs are join the attack. With the defensive midfielder Thomas Partey, first things first, defensive behaviour is cut passing lanes as they instigate a lane press, and they're very, very good. And it was very good in this tactic as well, as you'll see in the gameplay above me. If you glance over to it every so often, what you'll notice is that the pressing was very, very good, and part of that was that lane press that we did instigate. Attacking support is stay back while attacking, and in interceptions is aggressive interceptions. He helps with that press as well, because he's really trying to play on the front foot by winning the ball in those situations. His positioning freedom is stick to position, and defensive position is cover centre. The 2 guys ahead of him should be covering those wide areas. You don't want him to be dragged out too much. With Xhaka then, we spoke about how his role has kind of evolved over Arteta's time there, and now he is getting further forward. So as we alluded to in the tactics section, he's on getting to the box for the crosses, but his attacking support is on balanced attack this time. We don't want him constantly running in beyond the striker. We just want him supporting those possessional moves, and we want him to be another kind of focal point, another target in the box in any cutback or crossing situations as well. So that's why we keep that one unbalanced. His interceptions are aggressive interceptions, more of a personal change than the actual instruction. We know what Xhaka's like. He's very aggressive, to his fault a lot of the time, but he's very aggressive, and so as a result you see him really trying to impose himself on the opposition, and he's very aggressive in those interceptions. So we've got that on aggressive interceptions as well. His defensive position is cover wing, as we spoke about. He'll cover the wing and stop Partey from being dragged out wide, and then his positioning freedom is on stick to position. With Martin Odegaard then, who is a cam in this case, so obviously the instructions are a little bit different. Defensive support is come back on defence, so make sure he's tracking back. And then his support on crosses is actually balanced. We don't want him constantly getting into the box. He's very much that advanced pivot, as we've spoken about in many videos. He'll look to pick up the ball on the edge of the area often, and that's really where he's at his best. So when the likes of the front three and Xhaka have advanced forward, it's usually the likes of him, Partey, Zinchenko, etc., who are going to be that kind of next layer of protection, pivot, who then possession can kind of rest on. So we got him on balanced crossing runs, and his positioning freedom is also stick to position as well. His interceptions are on normal. So let's have a look at the two wingers then. Both of them are on the same instructions. They're on comeback on defence again to make sure that they are tracking back. And then chance creation, we've alluded to it earlier in the video. How do you create that width when your attacking width is 28? Well, it is through the instructions of the wingers. Both of these guys are on stay wide, and they are really going to get on the touchline and stretch the play. And in turn, because they've kind of gone wide, if the fullbacks go with them and look to mark them, you're then creating space for the likes of Zinchenko, who's inverted, to run into that space, the likes of Erdegaard, etc., maybe even Ben White. And so as a result, you're creating those numerical overloads, but you're also stretching the play as well when you need to, in case you want to get them free and you want to get them out wide. It's important to note that you don't want to use the hug the sideline instruction on the D-pad in-game, because that's also going to make it so that the fullbacks do the same thing. You don't want that. Keep that off, and it will do a very nice job with these just on stay wide of them sticking on the touchline. The support runs are in getting behind to get them penetrating in behind the back line, and then support on crosses is getting to the box as well, as they'll act as another man. And like I say, both of them are on the same instructions. So finishing off with Gabriel Jesus then. First things first, support runs are on drift wide. He's very much someone who mobility is probably his best trait. A lot of movement, very clever movement a lot of the time, and what he does is he drifts from side to side, often around in some of the central pockets as well, and he looks to kind of be an option, help with the possession, etc., help to get the ball and lay off any runners, and he's very, very good at that, and that's the best way we can recreate it. We couple that with his attacking runs, which are on getting behind. Now, the thing is with this is that, yes, he'll be looking to penetrate the back line, but what about when you are looking for him to kind of just show for the ball a bit more? Will he constantly be running in behind? Well, no, because you've got the chance creation on possession, which means that he's not constantly going to be running behind just a lot of the time. So you're still going to have that emphasis, if and when you need to, on him showing for the ball a bit more and helping with the build-up play. This is where it differs to something like Haaland, for example. And finally, with defensive support, we have him on stay forward as he acts as that out ball and that focal point up front. Right then, with that being said, we're just about done. If you've got any questions about the tactic, please do let me know in the comment section, and I will do my best to get back to you. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. The link to that is down below, with all them fantastic perks and rewards on there. Exclusive tactics videos, the tactics package, all that good stuff. If you want to see more on this tactic, where it ranks, and suitable teams to players, etc., then do go and check it out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and ring the bell to get notifications every time I upload, as well as dropping a like on the video. And check out the links in the description below as well. The link to my Twitter, give me a follow on there, and also my second channel, Brahma Plays, where we're hoping to get some gaming videos on there at some point when the schedule with FIFA 23 just calms down a little bit. On that note, we are going to finish it there. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you soon.
shop is open after today's game if you'd like to get your tickets for the next game or club merchandise. Double substitution for Tottenham Hotspur. Coming off the pitch, number 33, Ben Davis, and number 21, Dejan Krivsky, to be replaced by number 38, Yves Bissouma, and number 30, Ivan Perisic.